Welcome to I Could Talk to You All Day. I'm Lauren Lefkowitz, recovering workaholic, perfectionist, and people pleaser.
And I'm John Spears, emerging from playing small, getting caught up in the inertia of life, and always being on.
I Could Talk to You All Day is a show for executives and emerging leaders. This is not just another leadership podcast. We're here to talk about what it means to be a leader while also being human.
So join us for raw, vulnerable, and probably pretty funny conversations about shifting from surviving at work and home to thriving in the life you've always wanted. Let's get the conversation started. Hey, Lauren, Happy New Year. Happy 2023.
Hey, John, I'm so glad to be back. How's it going over there?
I am so glad to be back as well. It feels like we haven't connected in a very long time on a recording, although we've connected several times elsewhere. But it's good to have the record button on and have a conversation about this year and starting the year off and how we're thinking about it and approaching it.
Yeah, I'm really excited that we've made it through half a year with podcast recordings.
Oh my goodness.
We started with this like tiny little jokey idea about doing a podcast together. And here we are. We're getting awesome feedback. I know sometimes you get feedback, sometimes I get feedback. The feedback that I'm getting is that people feel like they're in a conversation with us, like we're real people, which we are, it turns out, real people.
We're like humans. We're human beings.
Totally
we're also
human.
Coaches and leaders and parents and friends and all this other stuff.
Yes. And I'm really pumped to be coming into our second calendar year of recording podcasts and interacting with the people we have in our communities in a whole new way.
That's awesome. So am I.
Yeah.
We've been doing this, like you said, for like 6 months. And the thing that I love about this and everything else that I'm doing most of the time is that I'm still seeing this as practice. That as a recovering perfectionist, I'm still, hey, we're just trying this out. We're trying something new. We're trying this. It doesn't have to be perfect and super shiny and sparkly. And it doesn't have to be a gold star every time. I mean, it is a gold star every time.
It ends up being a gold star every time.
But it's like the goal isn't it being a gold star. The goal, I think, for me, and I think I can say this for you, is when we have these conversations is to really show up authentically and vulnerably and share our experience and sort of the lessons that we've learned and shifts in our mindsets that can really help other leaders and emerging leaders and people in the C-suite who also and primarily are human beings who are having a human experience and are also leading other people or are seeking to lead other people. And I think for me, that's been the biggest shift for me over the past several years, is that I am first and foremost a human. And for so long, I don't know, I thought I was like a machine where I can just like go and perform and execute. And like, I can do those things, but I also have needs and feelings and experiences and sorrows and joys and celebrations and pain and like past trauma, a whole lot of past trauma that I'm working through. And so having this shift in my own mindset about like who I am as a leader fundamentally has totally changed everything for me.
That's beautiful. I think for me, this I forgot the word for podcast. This podcast.
This recorded conversation
between two people who are connecting with an audience has been really eye-opening for me in seeing how we were trained to be workers, robots, doers, versus how you and I in particular have emerged from that. And also how in our humanness, we both emerge from it and then we fall back into it.
Yeah.
And then we emerge from it again. And the emergence, I think, is a little bit faster each time and a a little bit more evolved each time. But what I love about us is that we remain very human and that we share the good and the bad. And in our last episode, when you said, hey, everybody, we're okay, as we were starting to share some vulnerable stuff, a couple of my clients listened to that podcast episode and came back and said, I was really glad that you both turned out okay. Because we started off, I think, a little dark.
It was real dark. We were like, that was like a real dark week, I think, for both of us.
Yeah. But that's the way it goes, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're doing the work and we're helping other people do the work because it's so important, because grand scheme of things, we deserve to have the best lives we can build for ourselves. And we're going to have times that aren't so great.
Yeah.
And what I recognized after we recorded that episode and in reflecting on the year and reflecting on where I am is that even though the last quarter of the year was real hard for me with the health issues and the identity theft and temporarily losing my health insurance, my life overall is like infinitely better than it was when I wasn't paying attention to it, when I was a workaholic and a people pleaser and I didn't have boundaries and work came before everything else in my life. And when I looked for any kind of balance, it was like, what do I have to sacrifice at work in order to have some life? And I don't live that way anymore. And so in some ways, the work gets easier because I'm working on a life that I want to be building. And in a lot of ways, the work gets harder because there's more that I want out of my life than I wanted before. And it's harder to let go of some of the old stuff. It's harder to welcome in some of the uncomfortable stuff and work towards the new stuff. And also it's super worth it because I see a future and I also see a present where I have so much opportunity to find joy and have fun and bring value and add impact.
Yeah. Two things. One is you just said something that really kind of just like landed so powerfully, and it's welcoming in the uncomfortable stuff. This is not what this conversation is about, but I found that that's the thing I've had the hardest time with is really not just kind of having this kind of begrudgingly dealing with this experience I'm having or this emotion or whatever, but really welcoming it in and being with it and sitting with it and being okay with it and loving that part of me that's having this experience, as opposed to what I've done a lot in the past is rejecting it and wanting to change and be different and, not feel sad about something or abandoned by my dad or whatever, but really kind of welcoming in that experience for me and being with it as long as it lasts. I think that's like super, super powerful. And the other thing that I wanted to say before we move into the topic of today's conversation is, you talked about our last episode and us being okay, but we, like I said before, and I say a million times, like we're all humans having this human experience. And as humans, we're designed for connection. And oftentimes the feelings we have or the experiences we have tell us something different, right? There's lots of shame in some of the feelings we have or the experiences that we have or the things that have happened in our lives. And all of that really pushes us away from others. It's repelling others because we want to protect that part of us. And one of the things that I love that we do and that I'm really committed doing as a leader, as a person, as a father, as a friend, is exposing those parts of my life that I want to keep hidden because I realize from the feedback that we get, like I've had so many people say, oh my God, I'm so glad you mentioned this thing about your relationship with your daughter because I have the same thing and I didn't realize other people felt that way or whatever. And so like the thing that I'm really committed to doing in 2023 is continuing to have these kind of really vulnerable and kind of sharing parts of myself that I don't want to share or that I'm resistant to sharing. One, because it shines a light on it and it kind of it mitigates the power that has, but also because I think it's really helpful for other people and other leaders to hear leaders talk about challenges and struggles. And we don't live in this all the time, but like there are parts of both my day, my week, my month where are just hard. There are just things that come up or kicked up or that I'm triggered or that I'm kind of working through in myself, even as a 42-year-old, of like stuff that happened in my childhood or as a leader. And so I think that's so powerful. And I think that's why people really resonate with our conversation, because I do think it's powerfully vulnerable and powerfully authentic.
And so relatable.
Yeah.
Our biggest secrets and our biggest areas of shame and the stuff we try to hide to show everybody we're okay, when we actually say those things out loud, like a whole bunch of hands go up in me too. And that's why I started talking out loud about all the stuff I talk about on LinkedIn and in trainings and with my clients, because if everybody thinks that like we've figured it out, spoiler alert, we haven't, but if everybody thinks we've figured it out, we're not relatable. We're not real people anymore. And there's always more to figure out. Every layer you uncover brings up new trauma, new old trauma, new fear, and also like greater capacity for joy and satisfaction and impact and excitement and love and all of the amazing things that we can bring into our lives. You can't have those if you're not willing to see into both sides and feel some of that pain and come out of it.
Yeah. And the lie that we tell ourselves is that other people have figured it out. And if you have figured it out, this is not the podcast for you, because we will have nothing for you because you figured it out. So, okay. With that, let's make this transition into what we're wanting to talk about today, which is about starting the year off right. And when I say starting the year off right, I really mean starting the year off in a way that's going to serve you. And I thought it would be really interesting for us to talk about how we're approaching the new year, because I think we're probably approaching it very differently. And I, for one, am approaching it so differently from the way I've approached New Year's in the past. I love birthdays and I love New Year's because I love the opportunity to start over. And I've always done something new, not really a resolution. One year for my birthday, I didn't drink for a year. I would, if a New Year's resolution would be to like work out or eat this way or do something else. And this year I'm approaching it very, very differently. And it feels really good in both like my body and in my mind and my spirit. And so I'm excited to sort of talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I share, how about you? How are you thinking about 2023 and closing out 2022 and beginning this year?
My first inclination was to say like good riddance to 2022, because I was pretty raw about the end of the year. But 2022 was one of the best years of my life. It was my first full year as an entrepreneur. I have had the best clients, and I'm still working with some of them in 2023. And I had all this freedom. I learned how to rest. I learned how to not get so angry at my body when I wasn't feeling well. And then I got angry at it again. And then I learned again, because we go through that cycle. And so the first thing that I did in 2023 was really reflect on 2022, which I don't normally do. I don't normally do a look back on the year and reflect, because in my previous life, when I was working in the corporate world, the end of the year didn't really mean anything except like wrapping up a lot of work so everybody could get out of there. And in past years ago, I would set resolutions. And I think like many people, my resolutions were all of the things that were wrong with me that I needed to fix, right? Lose weight, go to the gym, have a better diet, marry somebody, have babies. I don't know, all the things that like we think are typical societal norms that we do not fit into. One year I made a resolution to try a new food every month because I'm a pretty picky eater. And I learned that I enjoy shredded lettuce on my sandwiches. That was my only resolution that year. And I got something out of it.
Shredded lettuce. That is like such a specific thing.
No, I also tried mushrooms and peppers and mayonnaise and some other things that
no.
I've always been averse to. And those were not winners. But you bring me to a deli that's got shredded lettuce as an option. It is on my sandwich. So that after that year, I recognized that resolutions are sort of, for me, are sort of a joke, right? And you see it in the world that like January 1, the gyms get busy, the diet plans get bought, oat milk is off the shelves at the grocery store because people are going to be healthier. People buy like juicers and almond milk makers and, you know, all kinds of things to kick their year off right. And again, are looking at it as like, here are all the things I need to fix about me.
Yeah.
And by February 15th, the gym parking lots are empty. The oat milk shelves are overflowing because now they've overproduced because people started buying it for the new year. So I stopped making resolutions because I stopped making a list of what was wrong with me and what I needed to fix. And so as I'm looking at 2023, I'm really looking more at intention. And it is my intention this year to have fun, which sounds sort of trite, but I have a lot of fun when I'm with other people, when I am writing, when I'm with clients, when I'm with you. I'm having like the best time. And then like everything shuts down. I'm by myself and doing my own planning for my own work. And I take myself really seriously and I get really hard on myself. And I don't want to do that. I want to start treating me the way I treat my friends and the way my trends treat me. Friends treat me. And so in fun is also kindness and levity and discovery. And I have questions for myself. If I'm not having fun, my first question is, why am I not having fun? My second question is, what can I do to make this, whatever it is, more fun? And my third question is, if I can't think of an answer to my second question, why am I doing that thing? Do I have to? And that's my big intention for the year. And I think that just partly based on the cycle of the year just happening to be around this time, it's not necessarily a New Year's kind of resolution. It's more of a new cycle in my life that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
How about you? What are you thinking about the new year?
Oh, I mean, I want to respond to so many things that you said. When I think about 2022, it was a paradox of a year. It was the first time I think I have felt so much paradox in my life. It was like the best and the worst, the happiest and the saddest.
Yeah.
It was like the most exciting and sometimes the most boring. And so 2022 was really a year to be able to like sit with paradox and multiple experiences at the same time. And I think when coming into this year, and I had I took the last 2 weeks off of the year and was able to just hang out with family and friends and go ski and be around the people I really wanted to be around. And it really created an opportunity for me to be intentional. And so when you mentioned intention, I got really excited because I feel like I'm going into this year with much more intention about the intention I want to be bringing to 2023. And so I have 3 S's, a W, and a word for 2023. I have a swoop thing for 2023. And here are my 3 S's. Here are my 3 S's and my W. The first is slow. Mm-hmm. I'll go through them and then I'll talk a little bit more. The second is steady. The third is soft, and my W is my why, knowing my why. And the reason I chose these words is because I think they are really countercultural to the way that people start off the new year, right? People start off the new year hard, determined, high energy, like type A. And I've tried that before. I've tried to go into the new year with high expectations, a list of things I want to accomplish. And it just frankly doesn't work for me. And so I really wanted something that kind of just resonated with where I was at. And so for me, I'm not buying into like this hustle culture anymore. I'm not buying into going fast and like producing as much as I can produce. It doesn't serve me anymore. And so I really want to be going slow. I have a hard time. My mind is like goes a million miles a minute. And so sometimes I talk fast when I get excited or just in general. And so I really want to slow my life down a bit. I want to slow my life down a bit. I want to slow my thinking down a bit. It doesn't mean I don't want to be productive or I don't want to contribute or like keep pace, but my focus is no longer on production. It's really on going slow and being present. And I found that when I go slow, my relationships are richer. The things that I produce are more meaningful. They're more thoughtful. They're thorough. They're more creative. And so I want to get out of this like rushing hustle, like get as much stuff as I can get done to the day kind of stuff. So that's like going slow. Steady. I am a really, really good starter. Like I can start something. I'm a really good like idea guy, and like have a lot of energy around like starting something. In numerology, like I'm a number one. I like to like start things. I am really bad in the like maintenance phase of things, in the like once something is up, kind of maintaining it. And so I this year really want to get better at following through on those things that I've created and the things I say I'm going to do, even when maybe the excitement wanes and I'm getting distracted by other things. So like this idea of being really steady and committed and disciplined around those things is going to be really important. And that's the kind of intention I'm bringing in to this year. And the last is soft. And I think, when I think of soft, I think of how like everyone in like everything that corporate culture doesn't want to be, right? We want hard skills. We don't want soft skills. We want like very articulate, loud leaders, not soft leaders. We want hard bodies, not soft bodies. We want like, and so this idea of softness for me is really about being kind to myself. It's really about being countercultural in a lot of ways. It's really about embracing the parts of me that are maybe not aligned with what mainstream corporate culture wants to do. And I'm finding so much joy in that because I've always shunned those things about me. I've always shunned the sort of fact that I'm emotional, that I'm like a really emotional dude. Like I cry almost every day. And I see that as soft, so I'm really embracing these parts of me that maybe like culture says aren't great leadership skills or you shouldn't be or whatever. So those are my 3 S's. My W is knowing my why, knowing my what for. And as you know, been so much transition in my life over the past, several months, and moving and a new city and new environment, a place where it's very, very cold, out of the place that I've lived for, roughly 20 years. And so with that transition has been a lot of real adjustments and challenges and hard things that have come with it. And so I found that even if it's hard, knowing why I'm doing something, knowing what the end goal for me is really, really important in having some altitude over the challenge, being able to have perspective, being able to see the longer term goal. And there are definitely times over the past several months where I've lost sight of that, and I've really allowed the challenge or the toughness or the heaviness of it to be consuming. And that hasn't served me really. It hasn't served the people around me. And so this year, really like knowing my why and having my why as a visual display, so I'm always focused on that, is going to be really important to me. And my word, one more thing. And my word for the year is peace. And I chose peace because I think that I just have not had a lot of inner peace. I've really been working through some things, and the intention in going into 2023 is to be able to create the space in my life to have that peace. And it's something that at times seems very unattainable, but it's the thing that I'm really looking forward to creating in my life this year.
I love that. That's amazing. You said like 40 things that I wanted to reply to.
Sorry, I know it was
in that. It was so great. But I want to specifically go back to you talking about how type A people don't really fit into this model of slow, steady, and soft. And I think that is true on the grand scale. And I think that's why leaders like you and me think that we just have to like go in hard and do more and perform and be tough and be resilient. And what I learned as I started doing the work for myself when I was still in corporate was nobody was looking for that from me except me.
Yeah.
I expected it from me because most of the examples I had seen of successful people fit that profile in my mind. But in reality, when I really looked around and I looked for leaders that I wanted to respect, what I found was a lot of them did have those softer qualities, did have those soft skills, which I also had. And I was playing down so that I could look more successful, right? Kind of like you said, you didn't show that side of you. So the willingness to show that side doesn't mean that you have to give up your type A-ness, because you and I both remain type A. Right? I would like to be type B, and I think I present as type B to a lot of people, but I am like all type A. I think you can still be type A, but choose your energy differently. Choose where your energy is going. And I have conversations like this all the time with other leaders like us who are into the performance, not performative, but the performance of doing well and pleasing other people and achieving, that we put so much energy into making things right and fixing things and being good at things that sometimes we forget we can choose where our energy goes and how much we care about things that aren't fixable because the company doesn't want to fix them and we're passionate about them, but our boss isn't or our team isn't. And so I love this slow, steady, soft because it really gives you this opportunity to step back and choose instead of just being on the autopilot of doing. Yeah. Well, the second thing I think that this leads into is then you talked about soft skills and how we never talk about soft skills. But again, the best leaders that I know have the soft skills and like they can pick up the hard skills because they're smart. And so we often, I think, hide our soft skills until we're comfortable in our jobs because we're afraid that they're going to be looked at as weak.
Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying that this slow, steady, soft is for everyone. I think what I'm, the reason I'm sharing and I wanted to talk about that today is to show that there isn't a one way of doing this. There isn't a one way to be a leader. And I think for so long, even now that I've made a choice on being a conscious leader, an intentional leader, and a leader of choice, it is still very easy to get caught up into like mainstream culture in a workplace of, how many of you who are listening are in the workplace and saying, I don't take a break. I'm going to work over vacation. I'm going to do this. And I'm sitting there thinking like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to work on the weekend. I don't want to work on my vacation. And there's just this way of being as a leader that has been so established that as Americans predominantly, I think other cultures have different appreciations for work-life balance. But I think I want to mention this because I think it's so important that if you're feeling resistance to sort of this mainstream, I'll sleep when I die kind of approach, like be strong. And there's a different way to lead. And I think there's an opportunity for all of us to find that authentic way of leadership and that authentic way of being as a leader and as a human, and really holding on to that, even when you feel the resistance or the peer pressure from a corporate culture or other people in your office or in your work sphere. It took me a long time to be able to break away and say, no, I am not going to have back-to-back meetings all day. Like, that was a really hard thing for me to do. And oh my goodness, since I've done that, I've had so much more freedom in my day job and so much more freedom to be able to do to focus on the things I want to focus on at work and in my coaching business and whatever. And so yeah. So Lauren, we've talked about how we're both kind of walking into 2023. I'd love to hear your thoughts or advice for our listeners in our community around things that they might want to consider as they continue to think about this year and how they want to be in 2023.
Yeah. I love that you said how they want to be in 2023, because that's, I think, what it comes down to. We forget to be. And that's why my intention is a being-based intention. And I hear yours is too. Slow, steady, soft, why, peace. Those are all qualities of being. And it's not that I don't have any doing goals for the year. I have tons of doing goals for this year. And in fact, coming soon, I just got my first laughter yoga gig.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
Which I'm really excited about for both fun and for this year and continuing to build certain facets of my business. But what I think we do to ourselves at the beginning of a year or the beginning of a cycle, a new fiscal year, a birthday, an anniversary, is that we set doing goals. And like I said, it's that checklist of lose weight and be better and be stronger and be smarter and be more successful and make more money. And we can do all these things that we do. But if we're doing it in a way where our energy is going towards fixing the things we don't like, if we do it in a way where before our energy goes towards doing things for ourselves, it goes towards work and fitting ourselves in as a side job, it's not a way to live. So whenever your new cycle starts, and it could be tomorrow, and then you could start it again the next day, right? Every day, every moment is a new opportunity to decide, I want things to be different. And I say, start with being. How do you want to feel? How do you want it to be when you wake up in the morning? Do you want to have that existential dread of going into a job that doesn't serve you, of going to work for a toxic company, of giving your entire life to work? Or do you want to wake up and think, I'm starting my morning with X, whatever X is, whether it's a cup of coffee or meditation or a walk or a shower or whatever it is, that your first thought isn't the dread of the things to do for the day. So I say my advice is set an intention and then figure out what matches that intention. How about you?
I love that. I would say three things, and we're super aligned on this intention. I think about, what do I want to create this year? And when I chose these three words, and it just actually came to me as we're talking, the slow, steady, soft, that's what's going to really help me generate peace in my life. And so my intention really for this year is peace. And that's going to happen through being soft and steady and slow. And so I think this intentionality is super, super important as we go into the year, to really think about, what do you want to generate? What do you want to create? Who do you want to be in 2023? It's a little rhyme there. Two other things. I would also give yourself a lot of grace, a lot of kindness in this process. It's the one thing that I'm learning more and more to do for myself, to be kind to myself, to love myself. And I think that is the antidote to shame and to staying stuck. And so I'm probably this year not going to always be soft and slow and steady, and giving myself grace when I am other than that, I think is going to be really important to getting back to my intention. And the last thing, I think it's super important in any sort of process, is to be iterative. Like, things are going to change. Your life is going to change. New opportunities and challenges are going to present themselves to you. And so think about using the experiences you're having in your life to iterate and to be curious about those other parts of your life that you want to explore and that might generate new intention.
Yes, John. Love it.
Yes. So Lauren, again, thanks for this conversation. As always, it's so good to connect, and I'm looking forward to our next talk.
John, I could talk to you all day.
I can talk to you all day long.
We're so grateful you decided to be with us during this episode. Subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues, and join us next time for more Real Talk.